Hello everyone, welcome to Plenty with Sulo. Today our guest is Deshika Rodrigo. Hi Deshika.
Hi Sulo.
And meanwhile, this is a very informal discussion, right? So before we proceed, if I ask you to introduce yourself, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, so Deshika Rodrigo. I am a mom of 2 kids first, and Tamara and Iran. And I am a human resource consultant. I have about 25 years of experience. And I'm now an executive coach and a women's empowerment speaker.
So that's you. Deshika, I think you are being in the corporate sector for many years.
Yes.
Then you suddenly thought it's time that you start your own.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of women take that risk after retirement. But before retirement, you made a decision to come in as yourself, as an entrepreneur, I would say.
Yes.
What was the shift? Why is the reason for you to shift like that?
It's a good question, Sulo, and I think it's a decision a lot of us have to make at some point in our careers. I wish I had made it sooner rather than later, but it was time. Because I was at a point in my life where both my kids had gone off to college. I had been in the same role, in the same organization for 11 years. I knew I would have to do this at some point, but the time was right. And so many other things kind of fell into place. And I finally was able to really do what I love and to chase my dream. So it was the right thing to do at the right time for me.
Okay. So a lot of women says when the kids grow up only you find time to go behind your dreams. So for you also it was the same. But when you were young, you got married at the right time, you had your kids, then you had your career, but then you again start struggling as a single mother. So with that, how did you face? Because a lot of women give up a lot of dreams when they become single mothers. But you say you gave whatever you want your kids and you are restarting your life. So how was it when being a single mother and bringing up 2 kids?
It's tough, Sulo. Being a single mother is tough. Being a single mother in Sri Lanka is also tough. Tougher probably.
No one wants to tell you are a single mother.
Yes, yes. Well, to be honest, Sulo, one thing is I had my kids, so I had to take care of them. So it's not like I had a choice. But it is also what I wanted to do. I embraced motherhood, although I was never a maternal person. I embraced it as well as I could. I think the most important thing for me was that I needed to learn how to balance, especially without a partner to support me. How do I do a good job at work and do a good job as a parent? And to know that I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I did fail. There were times my kids went to school without lunch. Not often, but it happened.
Yes.
There were days when I remember once my daughter went to school without her costume and everyone else was in costume. So, I've had my moments when I felt like I was a bad mother. But in the end, my kids have done really well. My daughter went to Harvard, my son went to Duke. So it all worked out.
So it's just like, being a mother and being a career woman, you have to make some sacrifices, but then again, that guilt feeling will come out when you see your children are really successful.
Yes, of course. That is the greatest reward, isn't it?
Yes, I agree with you.
I mean, as a corporate professional, I always maintained that I was a mother first. That's not to say you can, just forget your work responsibilities and go off doing your mommy things, but my priorities was motherhood first and then work. And it worked for me, so I think it can work for others.
Others also. It's just that you have to find your own style.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
So being that corporate woman who gets end of the month getting a salary and you are comfortable, this month I'm getting this. But shifting your corporate paycheck into a payment that you are not sure that you are going to get this month, how was that shift, the risk?
It's tough. I can't say it's easy. I remember the first day after I had stopped working, no emails, no calendar invites, no meetings. You know, it's a shift. Lots of people gave me advice, like some said take a break, don't do anything for a while. But because I was used to working, I went right back into looking at what I could do, and I guess what was helpful for me, Sulo, was that I knew what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I wasn't focusing only on being an HR professional. I love working with women. I like helping and coaching and mentoring. So that was, so it fitted right in. So because I knew what I wanted to do, I started sort of networking. I had to change though the way I am used to working. I used to not actively network. Now I have to. So I always tell younger women, start networking early, you know, build your network because you never know when you need it.
Yes. And I think the personal branding matters a lot, right?
Yes.
It's not about a lot of, I think, females work because I think ladies are more committed in corporates than male. Yes. So they forget about their personal branding out of the corporate.
Yes.
So when you started your new job, that personal branding, because those days, if you start talking about a crush, Deshika's name came because you started first, right?
Yes.
And you groomed a lot of young girls to come up to that ladder.
Yes.
So now you're into coaching. How you see that, you know, Sri Lanka still has not got the idea of mentoring and coaching. How do you see that entering into a field where no one has entered yet as a profession? How do you see? Because I see a lot of retirement people are entering, but you got it early. How do you see that?
It's an excellent question, too. I think the first thing is people have to realize that having a mentor, having a coach is not just a nice to have, it's a must have. If you look at throughout history, they have always, every successful person has had a mentor or a coach behind him.
Yes.
I mean, Mark Zuckerberg got coached by Steve Jobs. Bill Gates gets coached by or mentored by Warren Buffett. I mean, you name it. Even Mother Teresa had a coach,
yeah,
in a Spanish priest. So having a mentor or a coach is an essential for anyone who wants to get ahead in life, you know, because your mentor has been there before you.
Yes.
So he can tell you what to do, what not to do, to avoid certain pitfalls. So I think that's important. I think there are corporates now who are getting there, I mean, I work with some companies now that hire me to mentor or coach their staff, so that's helpful. But I think that shift hasn't really happened. We are just beginning to.
Yeah, when you say the mentoring, a lot of corporates and women believe best mentors for women are men, not women. Do you agree on that?
No. I'm not saying that all mentors are bad or something like that, but I think for a woman is the best kind of mentor because you understand what the challenges, the kinds of issues, the biases that are existent in the workplace, what it is like to be a mom and a working woman and a wife. So I think in terms of someone who really understands and can relate to what you're going through, I think you need a woman if you are a woman.
If you are a woman. A lot of young people coming into careers with degrees, MBAs. So they think that knowledge is enough for them to go ahead. And they look for like positions that we actually dream of achieving another like 5 to 6 years time. How do you know, when you, because I see people mentoring for middlemen, but not to the young. So how do you see that if you are given opportunity? What will be the change you want to do in mentoring for the young people?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid question, Sulo, because really the way you mentor a millennial, for instance, or someone at say my age would be very different.
Yeah.
A millennial's expectations and requirements from work are different to what it was in my time. So for a millennial, I mean, basically it is achievable that you can become a CEO at 30.
Yeah.
You know, or even less maybe. Whereas in my time, you know, it was the seniority matters, right? Not mature enough.
Yeah.
So with younger people, now it's no longer the case. But I think for especially as a woman, you have to prove yourself. Whatever age, whether you're a millennial or a Gen Y, Gen X, whatever, you still have to put the work in, you have to prove yourself, you have to have your network, you have to have the knowledge and the skills, and of course you have to have the right kind of attitude.
Yeah, that matters.
Yeah.
So those days the first thing is for us to be working matters was our discipline and the dress code. These days discipline and dress code has less values. Do you think it's impacting positively to the professionals or negatively to the professionals?
I think for now, Sulo, it depends on the industry.
Okay.
For instance, I was at Amazon.com in Seattle a couple of months ago, and I mean, there is no, it's just completely open concept. It was a Friday, nobody was even at work. So it works clearly for a company like Amazon. So I think it's becoming less of an issue to be dressed right and, you know, come into work at 8 and leave at 5. It's much easier, and I think if you are willing to do what it takes, it's really your output, not where you do it and how you do it. But I do believe though that things are operating more within a framework. There is governance, there is compliance, there are regulators. So even though, as you say, discipline and how you dress is less important, I think there's much more sort of need to conform to social norms, regulatory norms, government norms, even international norms.
Yeah.
If not, you'll be in trouble.
I agree. So coming up with this, a lot of people speak about workplace harassment, right? We mentor for women to go to the next level, go to the push. But workplace harassment is a silent killer for a lot of women to leave jobs. You know, you are being in that position, you are being there, you are being in the corporate, you have a lot of young people working with you. What is your advice for women who are already in corporates to face workplace harassment, not just to be silent, but you know how companies also, because you are HR professional, you know how HR handle those things. So what is your advice on those things?
Sulo, harassment is a no-no. There should be zero tolerance, any organization, however big or small. And that has to be the first thing. It has to be a message that is cascaded from the top, and not just cascaded, it must be practiced clearly. So that is from an organization point of view, and from as women working in organizations, you have to know that it's your right to speak up if you have been harassed. Not just sexual harassment, verbal harassment, any kind of harassment. If you don't, you're doing yourself and every other woman in the organization a disservice. So you have to speak up, it's your right. Nobody has the right to harass you, and it is your fundamental right. And if you don't use it, then you're the loser.
Then you're the loser, and it's your fault if you don't speak up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then coming back, it's a common questions I'm going to ask, because a lot of women says that women are not the supporters of women, and sometimes women do not let another woman come up, right? That's being like, I sometimes wonder whether men are putting that into mind and we are practicing it or what it is. But in my life, I have seen men and women both in equal way, but I have seen men compete with women rather than women compete with women. But we do not see men as a competitor, we see a woman as a competitor, right? So when you're in a corporate life, now in business, and there are a lot of mentors, there are a lot of coaches coming in, trainers coming in, and you came on a very, you know, after having the corporate life just started. Yeah. How do you look at this competition as a woman who comes up in a different way?
You picked on a favorite subject of mine, Sulo. In fact, there is even a name for it. It's called Queen Bee Syndrome.
Okay.
And of course, you're right, though. It was basically there was a paper written on it in 1972, but by 3 men.
Yeah, I know that paper.
Yes. So But yes, in my career, actually, it's been one of the hardest things I've had to deal with, which are these queen bees, women who don't want to see younger women coming up. So there is that, and I think that has to be addressed. But at the same time, you're absolutely right. We shouldn't consider only women as our competition. We are as good and as capable as any man. Therefore, a man should be equal competition with us. So I think this whole business of only considering women to be our competition is also wrong. We should certainly not hold women back. I'm constantly telling women how we should empower each other, like you're always doing. We should be supporting each other, so we shouldn't be queen bees. But at the same time, we should also be looking at men as equal competition, you know. It's a limited playing field. They have as much of a chance as us to get.
And then gender has more right than us and opportunities than us. When we are only looking at the female as a competitor, we are blocking our own way.
Exactly. That's such a valid point. I must actually start saying that more.
Okay, Deshika, finally, I want you to give a message from your own life, because I knew you for a long time and I knew you are a different kind of a personality and you always supported women and you found solution for what you faced in life, right? Because I know the childcare came because you knew how the single mother, how you suffered, right? So I remember all those things. So what is your final message for young women who think the career, motherhood and being married is one of the reasons to forget about their dreams? Because I have seen this picture says, who put the expiry date for a women's dreams? You know, so are we putting the expiry date for our dreams, giving excuses? I want you to give your way of answering. What should the young women look at themselves in the future?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, as a woman, you cannot put an expiry date on yourself. You are doing yourself a disservice. You are doing a disservice to your children and to other women. And I believe any woman can. You just need to know how. And just associate with ladies like Sulo and other role models. Have positive role models in your life. Read, educate yourself, and you will learn how to believe in yourself, and you will get there.
Thank you very much, Deshika, and it's been a really inspiring journey because I knew you and I knew how hard it has been for you to be here. And for us, as she said, opportunities never comes, but when it comes, grab it.
Grab it.
And always say no to any violence because it's your right. Be tuned to Daily Mirror Online, Plenty with Sulo.